If you're new to incubating eggs or you've had poor hatch rates in the past, stick around for this video because we're going to go through the incubation process and we're going to show you step by step the absolute best practices for ensuring the best possible hatch rate. Hey there, welcome back to another Slightly Redneck video. Again, my name is Chris, and this video is focused on incubating eggs themselves. And this is the fourth part in my Improving Your Hatch Rate series. If you haven't seen those videos yet, you might want to check the link up there. Go watch those videos because it's assuming that you already know all that information. There's a video on how to collect your eggs, how to properly store your eggs, how to prepare the eggs for incubation, and how to prepare the incubator for incubation. And this video is going to focus solely on the incubation of the eggs themselves. Now, I'm incubating quail eggs in this video, but the same principles apply whether you're doing quail, turkey, duck, chicken, goose, whatever. I'll make sure that I write out the specifics of those as we go through it. All right, so let's get into it before I babble on too much longer here. Okay, so I've got my incubator all set up here. It's been running for a little while. It's gotten up to temperature. You're going to set, this is a forced air incubator. If you're using a still air incubator, you want to set your temperature to about 100. If you're using a forced air incubator like I am, you're going to set it at 99.5. And I always use an extra thermometer here that's been calibrated, and stick that right now. I've just got it going through the drain plug hole or the cord hole for the egg turner. But this gives me an idea to match up to my incubator thermometer to make sure that it's actually working correctly. Now mine is, but these things are notorious for being off just a degree or two. So use a calibrated thermometer. Make sure it's calibrated and accurate to double test and make sure that your temperature is right. Now when I start incubating, I'll just lay this inside there because there's no reason for it to stick out. Okay, so I'm using an automatic egg turner. I've got 71 eggs in here, a mix of jumbo eggs and standard size Coturnix quail eggs. Again, this is going to work for chicken eggs, duck eggs, turkey eggs, whatever kind of poultry you're wanting to incubate. If you don't have an egg turner, it's not that big of a deal. Just take a Sharpie, felt marker, and mark an X on one side of the eggs. You'll lay them in the bottom of the in the bottom of the incubator itself, and you'll have to turn them over about 3 times a day. Just flip them over 3 times a day. The automatic egg turner is going to take care of all of that for me, so I think it's worth the investment. If you don't have one, go ahead and pick one up. Pretty simple process though. These have been prepared. I did spray them down again with my antibacterial spray, which is again 50% gold. Oh, there we go. 50% gold Listerine and 50% water, and you just spray the eggs down. Once they go into the incubator, no longer spray the eggs. Keep all the water off of them at that point. So what I'm going to do is just open the lid here and put my eggs inside. Okay, so I've got my eggs set in there. I've got my egg turner on. There's really not much else to do from this standpoint. I'm going to monitor the temperature and the humidity. I'm not going to worry about the humidity too much. Like I said, if it drops down below about 50%, then I'll add some water to the trays at the bottom of the incubator. And this is really all for the first 14 days. And these are quail eggs again. Now, they go into lockdown on day 14. If you're incubating chicken eggs, then it's going to be day 18. If you're incubating duck eggs, it's going to be day 26. If you're incubating turkey eggs, day 26. Goose or guinea eggs are all going to go into lockdown on day 26. So that's what we're going to refer to this point on is lockdown. So again, not going to worry too much about humidity. Keep it above 50% until the eggs go into lockdown. Make sure you put a piece of tape on your incubator or something to put the date on it so you can keep track of that, because you will forget if you don't. Other than that, I'll come back as I need to add water or anything like that and give you updates on this, and we'll come back whenever it's time to go into lockdown with these guys. All right, so these have been going for a couple of days now, and you probably can't see it on camera, but my humidity has dropped down to about mid-40s, 45%. Really not a huge concern at this point. I really don't worry about humidity too much until I go into lockdown, but I do like to try to keep it about 50% or above. So I'm going to add a little bit of water back to this. All the water's evaporated out with it being wintertime and a dry air. And to do that, I've got a pitcher of water here. Hopefully I can get that in camera. There we go. Pitcher of water here and a turkey baster that I'm going to use. Just a standard turkey baster. And I'm just going to lift the lid up and put water in the bottom. Now, this water is hot water. It's about 100 degrees water. It's just hot water out of the tap. Don't add cold water to your incubator. It's going to drop the temperature quite a bit. You want it to be hot water. So right around 100-degree water. And it's pretty simple to do. I'm just going to fill my turkey baster up. Lift the lid up. Try not to splash your eggs when you do this. Just add water to the trays at the bottom. and I'm probably going to give about 1 full turkey baster per tray, or per liner, and then the bottom. Again, it's not a ton of water. I just put, there's basically 6 trays in the bottom, and I just put a little bit of water in each one of those trays. When we get to the lockdown process, that's when we're really going to bring the humidity up, and we'll talk a little bit more about what you can do at that point to, if you're having problems getting humidity up, to increase your humidity levels. That's really about all we got to do. Just been monitoring this. It's been staying pretty consistent, somewhere around the 99.5 degree range, and verified with my internal thermometer. So we're good to go for a couple more days until, you know, if the humidity drops back down below about 45% before lockdown, then I'll go ahead and add a little bit more water at that point, but chances are I probably won't have to. We'll keep an eye on this, and I'll come back whenever it's time to go into lockdown. Alright, so it's day 14 today, and that's the day that we're going to move these guys into lockdown. These are quail eggs again. Now, if you're incubating chicken eggs, it's going to be day 18. Anything else like a duck, what else? Turkey, goose, guinea, all those kind of eggs are going to go in on day 26 is going to be the day that you go into lockdown. But the process is the same no matter what day. First thing I will say is you count the days based on the day that you actually set the eggs is day 0. So if that makes sense, today is a Monday. I set the eggs on a Sunday, so 2 weeks later, yesterday was Sunday, today is Monday. So today is day 14, with the first day of incubation being day 0. Hopefully that makes sense. If you want to count the first day of incubation as day 1, then just wait till day 15. It's no big difference, it's no difference. So the first thing we're going to do is, if you're using an automatic egg turner like I am, you're going to unplug it and turn it off, and then we're going to pull the egg turner out of the incubator, and we're going to get the eggs out of it. Alright, I'm just going to open the incubator up, set the lid out there. I'm going to go ahead and remove my thermometer that I have inside there, because at this point I don't need it anymore. If you do not have an automatic egg turner, then just simply stop turning the eggs at this point. You want to work fairly quickly, but you don't have to rush too much. The other thing I've got here is a pitcher of warm water. This is about 100 degree water. Now, I've had to add water to this a couple of times during the incubation process, but now is the most important time to monitor humidity. You really need to get the humidity up. So what I'm going to do is just fill the bottom of the incubator up here, the trays in the bottom of the incubator, and fill them all the way up, because at this point, once I close this thing down, won't be able to open it back up until the hatch is done. So you want to make sure there's plenty of water in there to keep the humidity going the entire time. The remaining in incubation, which is going to be probably about 5 days. Okay, so I've got my water in the trays now. It's all filled up with water, ready to go. So I'm just going to remove the eggs from the egg turner, and we're going to set them on their side in the incubator. Now, if you were going to candle these eggs, now would be the time to do that. Would be a good time to do that. And just simply look for any of them that are clear, or you can see all the way through with no dark spots in them or anything like that. Those would be eggs that you would just throw out. I'm not going to bother candling them. I find that it doesn't really impact, if I have an egg that doesn't hatch, it doesn't really impact my other eggs too much. And quail eggs are just notoriously hard to candle, so I just don't mess with it. It keeps them out of the incubator longer than I really want to, so I just go ahead and set all my eggs and hope for the best. But you can do it either way. Alright, so I've got all my eggs set, and again, if you're not using an egg turner, then just quit turning your eggs. But again, the most important part right now, make sure you've got enough water in there that's going to raise that humidity up, because it's going to last. Basically, just fill the bottom, as much water as you can get in the trays, fill it up, without, of course, overflowing and spilling on top of the eggs themselves. So you don't want to get the eggs wet at this point. Once you've got them all set, you've got water in the bottom of the incubator, then simply close up the incubator, make sure your temperature sensor is where it needs to be, which is about the middle, and it is. And that's it. We're going to walk away from this. I call it lockdown for a reason. Walk away. Do not open this incubator until the hatch is done. So we'll come back whenever the first egg hatches at that point, and I'll show you kind of the next steps and what to do at that point there. Alright, so I got some birds starting to hatch out. Now you won't be able to see them. There's condensation all over the glass, so you can't really see down inside there. But you can hear them. If I'm quiet for a minute maybe. Hear them moving around in there. You can hear them chirping, those kinds of things. Most important thing at this point, do not open the incubator. This is day 17 for me, which is a little bit early for quail to start hatching, usually day 18, but Still, when your first chick hatches, that's when you're going to start the timer. Start the timer, you're going to give them 3 full days. So today is Wednesday. I'm going to give them all day Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday I'll open the incubator and I'll move them to the brooder. So now's the time to go ahead and get your brooder open, or get your brooder set up and get it ready and get it warmed up and get them ready for these guys. A couple things you can do here, because we're going to leave these guys in here for 3 full days to give a chance for everybody to hatch. If you open this incubator now to take these birds out, a rush of cool air is going to go in there, and any birds that haven't hatched yet but have pipped have a good chance of getting shrink wrapped inside their shell, and they won't hatch at all. They'll end up dying. So that's why we leave the incubator closed. They can make it 3 full days, no problem, the birds that hatched, before they need food and water. So that's the timer that we're going to set. All right, a couple things you can do here, because these guys are going to be kind of rambunctious and want to be jumping around, and you can kind of keep them a little bit calmer. Take a couple pieces of paper or cardboard or something and fold them over, lay them over the glass to kind of block the light out. That'll keep them a little bit calmer. Make sure you don't cover up the vent holes. There's vent holes right here and right here on each window. Don't cover those up. Just cover the glass up, and that'll keep the birds a little bit calmer. There's nothing else to do, really. We're just going to wait the full 3 days. We're going to come back, we'll open it up, we'll see what kind of hatch rate we had at that point. Alright, so all kinds of activity going on inside the incubator. You can hear the birds just running around. Well, it's been 72 hours since the first bird hatched, so time to call my hatch at this point. Whatever's hatched is going to hatch, and whatever hasn't probably isn't going to at this point. So we're going to go ahead and open this up and see exactly what we got. And I can tell already we got quite a few birds in there, but then again, we kind of expected that, so let's take a look here. Look at that. Ton of little birds all running around in there. Looks like a pretty good hatch rate. Let me get these guys moved to the brooder box, and we'll pick back the video up whenever we get done with that. Alright, so I got all those birds moved to the brooder box, and there were still quite a few eggs in the incubator that hadn't hatched yet. So I went ahead and added some more water to the trays in the bottom. I was moving very, very quickly, so I didn't get the camera going in time. But it's pretty simple. I just added water to the tray in the bottom, just like I did earlier in the videos. Close that incubator back up with all the eggs that hadn't hatched yet, and let it go for another 3 days. And I ended up with about 4 or 5 more birds hatching out. So that's something you can do to kind of stretch your hatch out a little bit, especially if you have birds that hatch early. So you go into lockdown. That 3-day window, whenever you're going to move those birds out a little bit early, and you've got birds that still haven't finished hatching yet, you might be able to get a few more extra birds out of it just by moving quickly, adding a little bit of water, and closing the incubator back up. So, final count. I got about 44 birds that hatched out of this clutch of eggs. Now, you might be thinking initially, well, you set 71 eggs. I think it was 71. So that's not a very good hatch rate. And I would agree, that's a terrible hatch rate. But I knew going into this that I probably had some fertility issues. I've got a little bit of a low rooster count, especially with my jumbo quail. And I knew that those eggs were going to have some fertility issues. So I went through the eggs that didn't hatch and checked each one to see if they developed, if they hadn't developed. And basically what I ended up with was about 20 eggs that were not fertile. They never developed anything. And I didn't show that on camera because there's no secret to it. You just kind of cut the egg open and check. And it's kind of gross and it's not pleasant to do. So I just did it real quick and got it done. But anyway, bottom line is I had 20 eggs that weren't fertile to begin with. So I really wasn't incubating 71 eggs. I was incubating about 51 eggs. And I got 44 birds to hatch out of those 51 or 50 roughly fertile eggs. So that's a pretty good hatch rate. I can't do the math in my head, but I think that's about 87. I should have done this math before I shot the video. But anyway, you get the idea. It's the high 80% hatch rate. So hopefully that's enough to give you an idea of how to incubate these eggs. And again, these were quail eggs, but it doesn't matter. It's the same process whether you're incubating quail or chicken or ducks or whatever. It's just your lockdown times are going to vary just a little bit. All right, there's a little bit of a shot inside the brooder box anyway. You can see birds running everywhere. They're a little over a week, maybe a week and a half old at this point. I was kind of hoping at this point I'd be able to tell the jumbo birds from the standard birds, but I can't quite visually tell that just yet. But you can see them kind of, there's somewhere close to 40 birds in this brooder box right now, and it's hard to get them all in there. But you get the idea how that works. So I want to thank you guys for watching this. Hopefully you found something useful out of this video. If you have some more tips and techniques and things, please share them in the comments below. Hit me up below and let me know what you think of this video. If you have questions, I'll be happy to do my best to answer those. But thank you guys for watching, and as always, God bless.